Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Trail Pass. So we've had the Outback Wilderness here for 6 months already, and we've had a really great experience. It's been a great vehicle for my wife to take to work and take our son to daycare, just kind of the overall family vehicle, and it takes us to some pretty nice places. But there's one thing that we haven't been able to do yet, and that's truly do a little bit of an off-road test. Now, the Outback Wilderness is kind of the most off-roady model of the Outback, and it's nothing crazy. It's certainly not a Jeep Rubicon, but with the extra ground clearance, the better tires, and some of the traction control settings, it should be pretty capable. So let's try that out today. All right, so setting off here in the Outback Wilderness. So like I said, this is my wife's daily driver, and it is a pretty mild off-roader, if that's what you want to call it. It's a very comfortable vehicle. It is based on the Outback, which is a fantastic vehicle, but it does have the turbo engine, which is really nice. However, even with that, we're still getting about 25.5 miles to the gallon on kind of a rural commute. So not too bad here, and it is super comfortable. Let's see how it is when we start going off-road. So a quick look at the trail conditions here today. Again, this is not really a super off-roady type vehicle, but it should be a pretty rough road capable vehicle. So here is kind of a side-by-side trail that we use at our family property. It is pretty steep, loose, got some sticks and different size rocks and everything on it. But overall, should be a pretty good test of the Outback. And I'm getting winded here just walking up the hill, so we'll see how it does. Now, one of the major criticisms here with the Outback Wilderness and really any other Subaru vehicle is the CVT. And with larger off-road tires and with you know, more aggressive terrain that we're trying to tackle, that might be where the CVT starts to struggle a little bit. But let's see exactly how it does. So go ahead here into the car info screen. You can see kind of a clinometer and an overview of what the all-wheel drive system's doing. And even here, kind of on the flat, we're already at 11 degrees pointed uphill. We'll go into advanced package. Then you can see some of the other car type info, but the driving statistics is what we'll look at it here today. We'll also pull up here to where we can go into X mode if we should need it. So let's go here. Instead of running in drive, we'll go ahead and put it over here in manual, which simulates a first gear. And these Outback Wilderness models actually do have a lower gear as well, final drive gear. So that should help us as well. We can also turn on the front view camera if we should need it. But we'll go ahead and take that off for right now. Release the parking brake here. Let's see how it does. It does have kind of a hill hold feature. Keeps you from rolling back. And we're starting up the hill here. So you can see all four wheels are in green. We are using that all-wheel drive system. A little bit of slippage there, but nothing too bad. We got a 7 degree side tilt, 15 degree uphill, now 17 degree uphill. But yeah, no issues. We didn't air down for this test at all. Just kind of say you pull out of the main road and onto your cabin road here. And I think this is kind of a pretty good representation of what that might be. So we'll go ahead. It did level off here a little bit in the trail, but it's still 11 degrees. Let's pull up here just ever so slightly where it's a little bit more vertical. And we'll try taking off again. So again, leaving it here in first gear, 15 degree uphill, 3 degree side tilt. We're in normal mode. Just slowly roll on the throttle. Yeah, so even at 3 miles an hour right here, lots and lots of control. No issues at all out of this Outback. Really, really impressive here. So again, walking up to it here, you can tell the Outback Wilderness is a little bit more off-road capable. It does have these Yokohama Geolandar AT tires, which are really, really good. Snow rated there as well. And overall, really cool looking vehicle, and turned out to be a pretty capable one too. So pretty warm day outside today. You can see 77 degrees. And one thing that is missing from the Outback Wilderness, a couple key options that you can get in maybe a touring or some other different trim levels. Don't have a heated steering wheel, which we wouldn't use today. However, we also don't have air conditioned seats, which would be pretty nice. We also just have the standard Subaru sound system, so no upgrades available here. But overall, still a pretty good vehicle. Go ahead and put it back into first gear, release the parking brake. We'll really try to crawl it slow here this time. Let the gearing and these tires see what they're made of. You can see power going to all four wheels here. Try to really crawl it. We got a little bit of a rock step up here. Miles an hour, just barely on the throttle. Oh, a little bit of slippage there. Nothing too crazy. Yeah, really, really impressive here with this Outback Wilderness. One thing I was a little bit concerned about with the Boxster 4-cylinder turbo here in this model and with the CVT, I didn't know how throttle modulation would be, but you can be really, really smooth on it here. And another thing I wasn't really sure about is with the lifted Outback, which is basically what the Outback Wilderness is, factory lift, of a little under an inch, so nothing too crazy, but the ride is actually fantastic. It's really, really soft and supple. You know, sometimes when you lift a vehicle in the aftermarket, you make it almost undrivable. It gets kind of starts to handle a little bit like an ox cart, and gets kind of bumpy. This is very, very supple and smooth. It actually soaks up the big hits, I think, a little bit better than your average vehicle. So admittedly, it is pretty dry out here today. Might have to try again another time to get a little bit more of a mud test going on. But overall, really happy with the way the Outback's handling it, as well as the Yokohama tires. And overall, you can probably tell by how out of breath I am, I think the Outback might be doing better than I am. All right, so this part of the trail does open up a little bit more, so we'll just go ahead and put it in drive this time. But we are going to turn on our lights and our fog lights, because if there's one thing we know about off-roading, more LEDs, more off-roading. Let's go ahead and pick up the speed a little bit here. There we go, 15 miles an hour, 16. Oh yeah, no problem. Very, very composed. Even kind of in a field setting here. Do a little bit of weaving action. Yeah, it really takes a lot to upset this suspension. Even compared to my FJ Cruiser, my Tacoma that I used to have, those, especially unloaded, would get a little bit bouncy. But this thing is actually very, very composed. Great tight turning radius. Yeah, very, very happy here with the ride. Overall handling. Independent suspension. Might not be quite as capable as what you might find on your Rubicon or your Sasquatch Bronco, but overall, great ride here for the kind of trails that we're hitting today. So yeah, overall, really, really pleased with the off-road capability of this Outback Wilderness. Again, no off-roader in the traditional sense, but I think it's definitely a pretty adequate rough roader. Very, very comfortable to take you and your family out to some some pretty cool places, like maybe a trailhead with the roof rack on top. Obviously, you could throw up a rooftop tent or a kayak, some mountain bike, something like that. But overall, pretty good adventure vehicle, I would say. It's also a good daily driver, which I think is what's really impressive about this vehicle. You know, it is insanely comfortable, not much different than a normal Outback, but I think the capability is definitely increased. And even if you live in a cold and snowy climate, I think the upgrade here, and I've even heard the newer ones do have a heated steering wheel, but the upgraded ground clearance and the Yokohama tires, I think would make you or your wife or significant other, whatever your case may be, a lot more comfortable and capable there in some wintry weather as well. So that is one thing to keep in mind here with the Outback Wilderness. So overall, are we happy with the Outback Wilderness? And the short answer is absolutely. It's been 6 great months of almost 8,000 miles here with this vehicle, and it's very, very comfortable, very confident in any kind of weather conditions. And honestly, I think it looks pretty cool. The Outback Wilderness has kind of been hated a little bit for its plastic cladding, but honestly, that's kind of normal, par for the course for a lot of newer vehicles. But I think what really makes this one stand out are the super cool wheels and the more aggressive tires. And overall, just a really nice vehicle. It's not over the top, I don't think, for what it is. And honestly, a lot more practical and cheaper than a lot of 4Runners, Wranglers, and that sort of thing that never actually see dirt. So I think for how we're actually, oh, here's a big snake. There's a really big snake. How about that? How about that? All right, so where were we before we were so rudely interrupted there? So talking about the Outback Wilderness, ours is pretty much all stock. The only thing we've added are the rock blocks, mud flaps, and we have done a couple oil changes, but overall, the ownership experience has been really, really good here with the Outback Wilderness. We love this vehicle. It's very confidence-inspiring driving in any kind of weather conditions, but also knowing that it has a very, very safe crash test rating for our family vehicle here. That definitely means a lot to us. But overall, would definitely recommend the Outback Wilderness if you're so inclined and looking for this kind of vehicle. If you have any questions about it, definitely leave that down in the comment section and consider subscribing to our channel. We're very much enjoying the ownership experience for ours and would love to help you if you have any questions as well. But thank you all very much for tuning in. Have a fantastic week, everybody. We'll catch you next time.